All right, we are back here on Purple Daily, and if you couldn't guess who our next guest is going to be, I'm going to pass the ball over and let you play host for a second, Alex Boone, so you can welcome in our next guest to the show. Go ahead, sir.
I love it. And I got to introduce this guy just because 14 years in the NFL, over 46,000 yards, 294 touchdowns, 3 Pro Bowls, a Heisman, and just got inducted into the Ring of Honor and the toughest quarterback to wear cleats, Carson Palmer. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Booner. It's good to talk to you, man. It's been a while.
It's been way too long, man. It's great to hear your voice.
Carson, I think we want to start out with a couple of questions about the NFL now, and then I want you guys to get into some of your career and also what it's like to play with Alex Boone. It's weird to work with him on the radio. I cannot imagine in an NFL locker room all the time. Let me start out, Carson. I want to tell you that the thing that I respect about your career the most is your resilience. I mean, the number of injuries you came back from to continue to have winning seasons and go to Pro Bowls, far apart actually with your Pro Bowls. It was incredible to me. And I wonder about when you look at someone like Kirk Cousins and see a guy who gets criticized a lot and he's struggling to make the playoffs and he's got the contract and everything else. How is it that you shut out all the noise when you have that type of pressure on you as a quarterback?
Well, it's one of those things that you hear guys say all the time that they don't hear it. It's impossible not to hear it, right? I mean, it's everywhere, especially during the football season with all the different media outlets. You can't be completely unaffected by it. So there's a little bit there's a little bit of an effect it can have on you if you're good at blocking it out. If you're not good at blocking it out, then you just don't make it, and you don't play as long as Kirk Cousins has been playing. So he's obviously he's done a good job of not listening to all that noise and just trying to focus on his job. But the guys that can't take the criticism or it affects them too much just don't end up making it very long.
Carson, do you think he values the O-line more or the run game? What do you think when it comes to Kirk? What's going to help him out the most, and what's going to help him get this team to the playoffs?
Well, I think one of the things Kurt does really as good as any quarterback in the league is his play action game is really, really good. When he can go through a long play action, take a big 7-step drop and hit the ball that he hit to Stephon Diggs last week, when he has a chance to step into throws, especially in the play action game, he does a really, really good job. I think one of the things that's been hard for him is when he can't step into throws, whether it's a 5-step drop, a 3-step drop, or a long 7-step drop. When he has to shuffle his feet and move in the pocket and can't get everything on the ball that he wants to get because he can't really step into the throw and transfer his weight and transfer his energy and create velocity on the football, I think that's where he struggled. And I know there's been a handful of injuries there up front. He's one of those quarterbacks. He's not going to beat you with his legs. He can beat you with his deep ball. He can beat you with his accuracy underneath. But when he doesn't have a chance to get to the top of his drop and step up in the pocket and work towards his target, he hasn't been very successful.
Carson, what is it about? We were just talking about this, about the play action game that is so effective, because I was looking up some stats just for Alex. He's always got stats requests. Hate
him.
Well, Kirk Cousins' percentage of dropbacks where they're using play action has gone up by 12%, which is a huge gain this year. And I think that we're seeing the impact of that. So from a quarterback's perspective, why does that help so much to have play action in the bootlegs to be able to work the ball downfield?
Well, it draws that underneath it. It draws all the linebackers up. They've got to come up and get ready to play the run. In order to do that, before you say that, you've got to be effective running the football. And with the running game that they've had early, they've had some really big explosive runs that defenses really just kind of break their backs when you have a 60 and a 50-yard run that they've been able to rip off. But once you start going play action, it draws everybody up closer. It makes those safeties stare in the backfield for just a half a second and not backpedal and get depth, but it makes them think, I might have to drive and run towards the line of scrimmage in case it's a run. And that's where you're getting those big, long touchdown passes like Stephon's that we talked about earlier.
So Kirk's obviously taking a lot of criticism, and there's a lot of criticism going around the league right now. I mean, I'm even looking in Cleveland because I'm from Carson. You know that. I'm from Cleveland, and
first time you've ever mentioned it on the show, Alex.
What can I say? I love Baker, but he's taking a lot of criticism. Do you think that these guys are taking too much heat for this team's performance?
No, it's just part of the deal. I mean, it's unfortunate, but as we said, there's so many different media outlets and Instagram and Twitter, conversations, and there's just so much free time that people are spending, on Instagram and at all these different outlets. So if you're not winning, it's really easy to point the finger at the coach or point the finger at the offensive line or the quarterback or the defense. And I think just in today's world, with all the access that fans have to the players, that's just the new norm. It is. If you're winning, everything's great and everybody's the best player in the world. And if you're losing, everybody's overpaid and they stink and they need to find a new quarterback. That's just the world that the NFL plays in now.
What was your approach, Carson, to handling things like the media at the podium each week? Because, Baker Mayfield has had a few moments where it seems like people from the outside have been able to get to him. Specifically, Rex Ryan made a few comments and then Baker had to shoot back, or Colin Cowherd makes a few comments and he feels like he's got to shoot back at the podium. And sometimes we've even talked about Cousins, where he would go up after games and say, well, if we had that block at the right whatever, then this would have gone differently, kind of throwing guys under the bus accidentally, I think, not necessarily on purpose, but it seems like it's really hard when all of your words are going to be picked apart each week by the entire media.
Well, you open yourself up to that. I mean, when you do call out guys or talk about the refs or have excuses or start getting in conversations with, Colin Cowherd's one of the biggest names in the radio world. And once you start those kind of feuds and those Twitter battles, you're opening yourself up to more criticism. So, again, it's the landscape of the NFL. Everybody's criticized and given too much respect and too much love when they win. But once you start talking trash back and forth to guys that sit in front of a microphone all day and have thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers, once you start that game, it's tough to get back from that. I mean, the only thing you can do to get out of that hole is just win every single game from there on out, which is pretty hard.
I don't think anything could have ever phased Carson. Did you see what he had to wear to some of those games from the
Yes.
games? And I got to know, Carson, who started that ball game that you guys played on Fridays?
So I started that back in my years when I was playing in Cincinnati in your home state of Ohio. I'm not sure if anybody knows that, but back in the day, John Kitna, who was a quarterback on the team with me and a good friend of mine who's now actually Dak Prescott's quarterback coach with the Cowboys. Yep. He and I started doing we started throwing footballs at the goalpost. We tried to hit the crossbar. And then it got a snowball effect and turned out to be these really cool trash cans they built that could, articulate and angle and raise, to different levels from 4 feet high to 10 feet high. And we really created a fun game out of it and a great way to compete during the week.
The number of contraptions that NFL teams have is amazing. Like the Vikings, they have these donuts that they're rolling around and having guys try to cut block donuts, and they've got a red ball they throw at people. It's amazing. Carson, something that Alex was talking to me off the air about with playing with you, and you guys only played together for a short time, but he was really impressed with your poise when it came to big games and big situations and things like that. And we just played in the playoffs, and Alex said he felt like you were always in control of everything that was going on out there. And I'm always, I think, impressed, and we've talked about it with Teddy Bridgewater, with a quarterback that makes people better around him. Was that something that you learned as you went along, or that you found was just a natural part of your game early on in playing football, or did you develop that in some way?
No, I mean, I guess maybe just kind of personality-wise, and just kind of go with the flow. And when things are good and hot, don't make too big of a deal. And when things are really bad, don't make too big of a deal. Maybe it's something I learned at an early age, that you got to kind of have an even keel outlook on life and personality, especially in the locker room. So it's something that kind of reflects just, I don't get too strung up on certain things and don't get too down on myself at certain times. And fortunately it worked out, football wise, that's how my personality matched playing the quarterback position. Cause I think it's important for quarterbacks. You see some quarterbacks that just get so riled up and so frustrated and so angry at certain guys or certain refs. You gotta focus on the next play. As soon as you start dwelling on the bad call that just happened, or the bad throw you just made, or a guy dropped the ball, missed a block, whatever it is, as soon as you start letting those little things affect you from previous plays, they affect the next play. And I think I learned that at an early age playing quarterback since I think I was probably 8 or 9, 10 years old.
Dude, you were infectious, especially in the locker room. The way you would just talk and you'd be like, all right, guys, listen, we're good. We're gonna come back to the G play. We're gonna come back to the. I was like, oh my god, this guy's so infectious. I love him. But listen, I'm thinking about Arizona and I'm thinking about how you just got inducted in the Ring of Honor. How awesome was that? And I gotta know, if you get inducted in one place, do all the other places have to induct you too?
I don't think it works like that. Unfortunately, that would be really cool because
Wouldn't it?
that Minnesota. Oh man, that Minnesota Viking Stadium. If you could go into that Ring of Honor, I mean, that place is amazing. That was one of my favorite places I got the chance to play. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was such an amazing weekend. My whole family was there. I had a bunch of friends that have been supporting me from college all the way throughout my career, and to be back on the field, against the Seahawks. Pete Carroll, my college coach, was on the other sideline, and just a bunch of got to see all the fellas. All the guys are still, AQ Shipley and Larry Fitz and all the guys that Chandler Jones and all the guys that are still there when I was playing, and just a really really special weekend and a great homecoming for my family to be a part of.
Well,
Did it feel weird getting to not wear pads out there?
It was odd, man. It was odd. I'm not gonna lie. I had on some nice penny loafers and a suit, and to walk out there on the grass and be around all these guys in the pads again, it was definitely a weird feeling. I will say, I felt very executive. I felt kind of like Steve Kine. He's always looking sharp down there, and all the GMs down there in their suits and ties. And I kind of felt like one of those guys, so it was pretty cool.
Carson, I watched your A Football Life documentary in NFL Network, and those are always incredible. If people haven't seen it, it's super, super good. Goes through all the things that you battled throughout your career. And I wonder about what you think sort of your legacy is, because every time we ask players, hey, what do you think of this accomplishment? They always say, I'll reflect on that when I'm retired. Well, guess what, Carson? You're retired, so you got to do it. What do you think about it when you look back of how everything turned out?
I wouldn't change a thing. I got to live a childhood dream. I was that kid in my backyard at night playing catch with myself and doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Throwing up a Hail Mary to myself and run and dive and catch. I dreamt of those times, and dreamt of playing in college. I just want to play in high school first, and then you get to high school. I just want to play in college, and then so I was very fortunate to have a really positive perspective throughout my career because I was always playing a game that I loved. I loved everything about it. When I think back about all the opportunities and the stadiums I got to play in and the fans I got to play in front of, I think the thing that sticks out most are just the people and the faces, the Alex Boones, the equipment managers in Cincy, Jeff Brickner and Schwinn in Arizona and Danny Moe in Oakland, and the coaches, the people that work upstairs for the organizations and ticket sales, just the people you dealt with on a daily basis. Obviously the teammates and the guys that you practice with and sit in meetings. And so when I think back of, for playing for 15 years, it was amazing. I just remember all the great teammates I played with and the friendships I built with different guys at different stops I had.
Carson, I got to know, since you brought it up before we let you go, are we going to see you more likely wearing a headset on the sideline or wearing a suit?
Neither, hopefully.
I don't know, man. I could see you being a GM. That would be incredible.
It would be a great challenge, no doubt. As you know, and you having young kids too, with 4 young kids, I'm not trying to miss any. I missed a bunch of basketball games and football practices and baseball practices when I was playing. And right now, I'm working enough. A handful. I got my hands on a handful of different projects that I'm doing that I'm really excited about. One is a CBD company, a sports cream company that's really helped me, called Level Select. It's a product you can buy online at selectmylevel.com. It's a really cool company. It's something that saved my elbow, and I got a bunch of knee issues and things I'm dealing with in my knees. So I've got my hands in a couple different things and really focused on the opportunities I'm getting to finally spend with my kids and be around some of these milestones that they're hitting.
Dude, I can't blame you. That's awesome. Thanks so much for your time today, Carson. I wish you nothing but the best in the future, and hopefully I get to see you soon.
Same to you, Alex. I appreciate it, man. Good to catch up. You guys have a great day.
You too, Carson. Thank you.